So it's 7:51 here, and I am winding down for the day. But I thought I would drink a little bit of this. No, there's nothing to it. And have another one of these and say hi to you guys and go to bed. Anyway, a little more on the Boba Fett ship naming drama. Hasn't happened. Don't know what they're talking about. Obviously Lego felt they had to do it. Disney's not. I think, again, and I'm going to say this for the cheap seats, we got to dig a little more before we jump in. Interesting discussion today on Mead. Quentin Tarantino basically tearing Hollywood apart for its woke shit. And it's the way it treats people and the way it treats artists. It's what happens when an industry gets stale and loses its edge. Okay. When Hollywood first started out, and there was no Kojak, stop it. There weren't any regulations. Hey, Bone. Oh, Andrew, they're not. They're not. And if they do, it'll go back. I mean, I'm sure Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are going, we're not doing that. Anybody who actually believes that, go and look at the StarWars.com page for Slave One, and it's still there. Now, if they were going to change it, they would change it everywhere. Don't you think? Okay, it's not changed. It's just Lego freaking out. Lego and, when you do Google, Bing, or DuckDuckGo Slave One, you do get very interesting results, including adult sex toys. No. But no, they're not going to change it. And I really think it's just a way it's a way to tweak the fans. It was really a slow news day, to be honest. But Tarantino on Bill Maher, and I love Quentin Tarantino. I fucking hate Bill Maher. Here's the deal. There's a way to be an open-minded liberal without kissing the enemy's ass. And when he got kicked off of ABC, off of his show Politically Incorrect, he deserved it. Literally right after 9/11. And calling the little fucking cowards that did it, they're so brave. No, they weren't. I live in Pennsylvania. Down the road from here, Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where Flight 93 went down. The white guys that knew what was going on, who decided to take the plane back, were far braver than the little motherfuckers lying about a bomb being on the plane and knifing people, okay? So never tell me that some batshit crazy fundamentalist of any ilk is a brave person. They're nuts, and they need to either be put in cages or eradicated. Okay. The Nazis were fundamentalists. Stalin's communists were fundamentalists. Maoists are fundamentalists. SJWs are fundamentalists. Okay? Instead of mistaking or just saying, well, Jimmy Swaggart, fundamental, yeah. But so are this, and this. Don't sit there and just point at Christians saying, well, you're a fundamental. Fuck you. Okay? That's a very small portion of a very, very, very big swath of people who, by the way, believe in a lot of different things that don't always coincide with each other. Okay. And oh, by the way, SJWs are fundamentalists. We all have a problem with them, don't we? We had a problem with people in Germany in 1933, did we not? They were fundamentalists. Ideologues are fundamentalists, so fuck off. Okay, I don't like them. And right now, Hollywood is afraid of the Me Too movement still. They're afraid of taking risks because, money, and it's like, Here's a question. This is woke shit. No one is gonna see this because it's woke shit. And you're still doing it. May I ask why? I mean, these are things we need to ask. So, no, Slave One is still the Slave One. They haven't changed it. I could wake up tomorrow morning and find out. It's been banished off of all the Disney things, but I don't think it will be because it's part of the lore. And I'm pretty sure that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau and everybody else know. And they're like, you can't really do that. You can. And they're not going to. There's a reason why it's called that. I'm not going to get into it because I'm not well versed in that. But rest assured, it's only Lego, and Lego's catching hell right now. And Disney's catching hell because of Lego. And I'm pretty sure they're like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, so let's talk about 80s movies because I love them. So today, as usual around this time of the year, I watch Jaws because I think it's one of the greatest movies ever made. The acting's superb, the writing's superb, everything is. When you read the BTS stuff, behind the scenes stuff, and what a horrible shoot it was, and how bad Bruce the shark behaved. It's hard to imagine that movie amounting into anything, but it was the first major summer blockbuster. It ushered in about 25 years of filmmaking grandeur. The 80s started, hey Just Nova, the 80s started in the 70s. And it was unreal when you think about it. We had Jaws, then we had Rocky go in the distance, then we had Star Wars, and then we had Close Encounters, and then we had E.T., and then in 1980, The Empire Strikes Back, and the 80s start. I just got done, I watched Ghostbusters 1 and Ghostbusters 2. First off, you have to understand, Bill Murray is my spirit animal. When you see him, he's being such a shit. And the reason why I love him is because he knows he's a shit. And if you're smart like Sigourney Weaver was, she knows he's full of shit. And she still likes him. That, to me, is such a great, I think, moment in movie history. Tron was great, too. Was such a great, like, coupling in movie history. She had him figured out, and she didn't hate him. Because she was a very, I would say when you first meet her, she's a very self-sufficient, independent woman. And you're not getting hit over the head with the feminazi bullshit. Okay, she just was this chick, howdy Matt Piranha, and there you go. Okay. But when they're down in the library and Harold Ramis, who's, I'm going to say this, when he died, I bawled my eyes out. I bawled and bawled and bawled. Because he was such a great person. He was just so fucking cool. Asks, Ramis, Egon asks, Peter, take a sample. And he hands him a petri dish. And Bill Murray's doing everything I would do. Just somebody blew their nose and you want to keep it. I mean, I take it to when he hands him the petri dish, Egon, your mucus. Just the way it was delivered. And of course, all the rest of the lines. And at the end, yes, it's true. This man has no dick. I mean, come on. That's fucking poetry. Oh, I do too, Bone. I really do, but I think Ghostbusters Afterlife is going to be such a great thing. It's going to be such a great moment for him, for his memory. I really, really do. In fact, there is a, and I think Mazur's comes in, because I sent it to him. There is an old school 1976 SNL where you've got Gilda Radner playing basically the person who, she's basically playing Patti Smith, who's one of my favorite all-time female rock singers. And she's drunk off her ass. And you see this tall, skinny guy with this curly hair, with these big, thick Coke bottle glasses, show up with Bill Murray and they carry her out. It was Harold Ramis. I was like, oh my God. I mean, that's, you know you've made people happy when they see you in something that small and it literally makes them jump up and go, that was him, you know. And it was a good, it's funny as shit. There's also one where they play Superman and Lois are married and they're having everybody over to their house for a party. And all the superheroes show up. Dan Aykroyd's the Flash. John Belushi's the Hulk. Go sit over there and laugh. Because he shows up painted green. And I was just like, you gotta be shitting me. And it was really, really funny. I mean, I miss, first off, those times when SNL was new and it was just, fuck it, we're gonna do this. It was esoteric, so you really had to watch it. And you really had to be with the culture sometimes to actually see what they were doing. But it was so freaking funny. Oh, which scene? Oh God, yeah, I mean, oh, you guys are talking about that? And they're all, I mean, Jane Curtin. I think I saw that. My mom and dad were out and I was being babysat and my niece was there and we had our babysitter and she let us watch it. And we were up, no one cared. We weren't going to, there was no way we were going to bed. I mean, no. I mean, there's just no way. We were up because we were up. You couldn't get us to go to bed no matter what. And we were watching it and it was awesome. I mean, it was, I remember we would wait for that. It was a reason to stay home for people back in the day. Now it's like, who cares? And I really think when you lose your edge in comedy, you should just, thanks, Bruce. Thank you. When you lose your edge in comedy, you should just quit. I really do. If you can't laugh at yourself, if you can't laugh at absurdity, if you don't feel comfortable mocking assholes or your own side, then you need to go sit it out for the rest of your life. You just have to, because when you watch anything until like, I would say about, oh God, SNL started losing its edge 20 years ago, but oh God. Ugh. I hope I never have to call you, man. I really do. But anyway, Ghostbusters. If you've ever seen Dan Aykroyd interviewed about paranormal stuff, he's very well read. He says he's seen stuff. I just go, I mean, it came from him. This stuff came from him and Harold Ramis. Okay, I will. I mean, but we've got, let's see, Ghostbusters 1 and 2. And I did like 2. I like 2 because it was just the aftermath. And there was, hey, Mr. Oyston, Mr. Bond. Um, you know, oh, I believe it, Chris. Um, it's just one of those things where you could see the bad stuff that happened between 1 and 2 happening. And it was just so, it's hilarious. I mean, just, and they were having fun spraying each other with slime. But I mean, these, I think, what we have to do is when we talk about old SNL and the old cast, let's see if I can remember them. Bill Murray, he came in late, but still. Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, Gilda Radner, Lorraine Newman, Jane Curtin. Who is, and the black guy whose name I always forget. Sorry. I'm not racist, I just forget him. He's not Ernie Hudson. And then it was just like when Murray and Belushi left, and then Aykroyd left. I mean, not so much when Chevy Chase left. Garrett Morse, yes, thank you, Garrett Morse. When Chevy Chase left, it was like, okay. But when they left, it was like, I can't watch this anymore. I mean, even when Eddie Murphy was on, it was very rarely that you could get a laugh like you could. Yeah, Garrett Morse. That you could get a laugh like you could when they were on. I mean, how about Father Guido Sarducci? And then when they would have Steve Martin on, if you know me, you know I do like esoteric humor, and he is the king of it. But of course, I also love Ron White. And here's a little tip. If you ever want to literally laugh your ass off, laugh till you get sick to your stomach, Google or go on this right now, look up Ron White, 14-foot grizzly. You will laugh so fucking hard, you won't be able to stop. You won't. Okay, you won't. It is the funniest thing. It's the way they deliver it. They deliver. I mean, John Panette was the same way. Ron White, those guys are just funny. Pope and the Pizza. Oh my God. I remember that. But, 80s movies. So we've got now the first 80s movie. True. The Empire Strikes Back. Perfect. Perfect script. Perfect. You couldn't make it better. For what, 2.5 hours, whatever, however long it was. It was everything you ever want in a movie. And when you walked away, you didn't walk away being like, I think I just want to shove a pistol in my mouth and just shoot myself when we saw The Last Jedi. No, you were like, this has to get better. They have to fix it. And you knew they were going to. And it was just, that movie played at the Hollywood Theater in my hometown. I was there opening night. We stood in line all goddamn day to go. I was 12, I didn't care. My friends and I were like, fuck you. We were the first ones there early in the morning. We were like this. We're not moving. Fuck you. I mean, we're like a bunch of 12-year-olds going, ah, But that movie was playing in December there. It played once a day, and then something else played. But it played, hi, Vent. Welcome Willkommen. I hope you have a good time here. But The Empire Strikes Back was a legit, great, well written, wonderfully directed, magnificently acted, beautifully made movie. And it was, you know, everything George Lucas could have ever wanted, I think. Oh God, yeah. Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. I laugh so hard. And so we get into our 1981 Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know, what can you say? Another literally perfectly made, perfectly acted, perfectly directed, perfectly written movie. I mean, you can't get better than those two movies. This was the start of a second golden era in Hollywood that lasted about till like 19 when Braveheart showed up in the theaters. That was about the last I think bit of that golden era. That was, I mean, Star Wars made Harrison Ford a movie star, and Raiders solidified it. And it just, I mean, and then we've got Close Encounters. We've got E.T. the Extraterrestrial. That came out in 1980. What year did that come out? And that movie actually won, I think, I think it actually got the biggest box office for some reason. And, you know, and then we get into, Aliens, which was, you want a strong woman. You got Leia, you got Ripley. All right. Why do you need these feminazi bitches? Why do you need fat, stinky, and I do mean stinky, Claudia Gray and that icky Justina Ireland telling you how women should be when they don't even know how a woman should be? I mean, I'm still like thinking about going into therapy over Claudia Gray having a boyfriend. How does that happen? And we get Blade Runner. Blade Runner did not do well, by the way, guys. It did not. I remember seeing it. I made my sister take me to it because it was rated. I can't remember what it was, but my mom and dad were like, "You're not seeing that without your sister." And my sister's like, "Fuck." So she had to take me to it. And it was like, thank you, Bruce. Yeah, please like and share and sub. I'm really trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. And it's been a long haul. But when you look at Blade Runner from the long lens of history, it's literally, in my opinion, one of the greatest movies ever made. It is a great story. It is nothing like the novel, because I have it. Do androids dream of electric sheep? But it is such a great story. And it's so well acted. I mean, and if you ever get a chance to watch the BTS stuff, Harrison Ford would tell you it was the hardest shoot he's ever had to go through. And that includes, wrecking his back on Temple of Doom. Because Ridley Scott is such a meticulous filmmaker, he doesn't want you on the set till he needs you on the set. So he's got, Mr. Alpha Male, Harrison Ford, pacing back and forth in his dressing room like a lion. I mean, and it's so good. It literally contains some of the greatest acted scenes, I think, in movie history. Rutger Hauer, Tears in the Rain. I mean, Do we have to talk about that? Do we have to explain that? Do I have to show it? I don't have to. You guys know that was 80s writing. So if I forget something, let me know. Witness, the only movie Harrison Ford has ever nominated for an Academy Award. We live like in Amish country now. And going through there and seeing some of the country that I know I saw in the movie is really kind of cool. We haven't gone to that area exactly, but you know, Lancaster, we've been. There are gun shops in Lancaster, yeah. Okay. It's, yeah, you want to see a movie that's quirky, well acted, and something you think, well, that would never happen, and yet it could. See that movie. There's a point in it where you see Danny Glover and Harrison Ford shooting at each other. And they're both using those shitty service pistol snub-nose 88s or 38s. And it's like, and I'm like, here, I'll give you my 9mm. You'd hit him with this. You know, I mean, it's just like, but you know, Kelly McGillis was fantastic. The acting is just, Peter Weir is a great director. He likes these quirky, interesting projects that make people go. But it's good. So if you haven't seen Witness, get it. Let's go to something else now. We've gone to, let's see, we talked about Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Aliens. How about Fatal Attraction? Oh, okay, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Okay. So Raiders of the Lost Ark comes out. I was there opening day, of course. Again, if you want people to come to movies, make them good. Make it a story worth seeing. Make it something fun. Take them out of the world they live in for 2 hours. Okay? Give them something to watch and think about. And to the kids in the audience, give them dreams of slaying dragons or killing dark knights or something. As someone who grew up in a household raised by the greatest generation, the Nazis were not in the past. All right? And they still aren't, because in the broad swath of Homo sapiens sapiens history to the last 200,000 years, they're not even an eyelash. It's 80 fucking years ago. All right? That's in the lifetime of a lot of people we know. Okay? So, when you have some SJW going, that's in the past. No, it's not. No, it's not. I just was at the Reading World War II air show. I saw a bunch of planes that flew 80 years ago still flying. Okay? So you go and tell me that. I have a 1911 in the safe. That action was made, it's over 100 years. Okay? We are still using technology that works very well, by the way, that was made 100 years ago. So please, you fucking anti-history, kill the past bastards, you come and tell me that. All right? Sure, the Navy's developing a railgun. Sure, there's technology they're not telling us about. Still, we use stuff, and there's stuff right now that has been used 80, 100 years ago till this day. Okay, so shut up and sit down. Okay? Anyway, you know, from the moment the opening scenes where Indy gets introduced. It's literally one of the greatest. Harrison Ford owns two of the greatest character introductions. Hey, Anton, in the history of the world. Han Solo in 1977 and Indiana Jones. Okay, they're so freaking awesome. And the moment he shows up, after he whips the pistol out of the bad guy's hand, you know, he's a badass. And you go on from there. And what I love about it is that, you know, and George Lucas said this: I want our guy to explain what they want to them. He is the expert, they're not. When the Army guys show up, Army intelligence, they're the students. He's not. So what they did was they did an opposite of what they do with Indiana Jones. Okay. And Indy and Marcus Brody are telling the two army intelligence officials, because we didn't have a CIA back in 1936. It was Army intelligence, naval intelligence. What the Ark is. Did anybody ever go to Sunday school? You know, you would think that anybody who's raised in a Christian, Judeo-Christian household in the United States would know what the Ark was. But there's being told what the Ark is by your preacher, your Sunday school teacher, your priest, or the sister who taught you catechism. And there's the actual archaeological thing. Here's a scissors. See, it does this. The Ark is a thing. A lot of people look at spiritual things like the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, the Spear of Longinus, all right, the Spear of Destiny. They don't understand. They can't understand the concept that they were actually real things. Okay, so you've got these guys going, and Indy explains it to them. Power, fire, lightning, power of God, if you believe in that sort of thing. And what I love about it is that he tries to be such a scientist, and yet God just sort of goes, there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your science. You know, you gotta, every once in a while, people like that gotta get tweaked or punched in the mouth. All right? And that's what happens in this movie. I mean, when you see the part where he's got the headpiece of the Staff of Ra, and he's standing in the map room, and the sun goes through, and you hear that sound, it wasn't just, the sunlight just didn't go, there it is. It explodes. That's the power, I'm going to say the Holy Spirit, pointing, that's where it is. And being such a powerful moment that I would say a priest or a rabbi would go, I think we should just leave it alone. You know, I mean, Sala says it's not meant to be disturbed. You know, and that, I mean, this whole, I mean, God, the actors. You got Harrison Ford, of course, and you've got Karen Allen, and you've got Denholm Elliott, and you've got John Rhys Davies, who's a god. All these magnificent people. What a movie. And, you know, you get into Temple of Doom, where it's different. It's darker, and it got a lot of shit. I mean, it's the first movie that was ever rated PG-13, and they wanted it rated R because of the blood and gore. It's like, oh, honey, you wait to see the rated R shit that we got going. I mean, the vomiting going on by those people right now, with good reason, would be impressive. I mean, a Temple of Doom is fine. And I don't understand why they were so upset with it being so dark and bloody. Because compared to some of the other stuff I've seen, I mean, Braveheart, you know, but I gotta say that right now they're making movies, they're so vile. You know, I just, but anyway, let's go further. So we go to the Temple of Doom. We go to India, and it starts out as a musical, and it wasn't anything like. It's supposed to be a prequel, so it's like 1935. So Indy goes through all this shit, goes home, probably spends a few months teaching and stuff, gets dragged out to go and fight the Nazis. Guy never gets any rest. But it's really, it's a dark movie. It's an exploration in, I think, other human beliefs, how God sort of manifests himself in different ways to different people. It's just very interesting to me. I'm gonna say this, I didn't like it as much as Raiders, but I still liked it. I mean, the whole thing, fortune and glory, and he goes from trying to get the peacock's eye, which is what it is, to a snub-nosed 38, dude. 38. If you had an 88, it would be about that wide. He goes from Fortune and Glory and the Peacock's Eye, which is actually an episode on Young Indiana Jones, to Three Stones that are magical, that these Hindus really have faith in, and he has to get them back. There's a decency in the character that surpasses his need, I think, for money and glory and all the rest of that shit. Well, I carry a cig, but that's between us. And I want a Colt. But that. So then we get into, what is it, 85, and, all right, Ghostbusters comes out, we know all about Ghostbusters. I mean, I think the 1980s was the moment of perfectly written movies. I really, really do. Without the comic book, big pick on that whole story. George, yay! Everyone's staring at me. I'm like, it's been a long time. A lot of rumors going, you want to come back. And, you got people who say that and says that Harrison Ford is character, and he doesn't. I mean, I got a magazine right upstairs that says if they wanted it back to Star Wars, he come back. And I'm the only one in the fandom that'll say that because I didn't buy the consensus. Okay, because I don't. I do my own digging and don't let anybody ever tell me how to think. All right, I'll figure this out on my own and tell you what I think. Okay, so you get to Return of the Jedi. They're off to rescue Han, and that's the first third of the movie. You see, pan down to another Death Star, and all these, it doesn't look like it's been finished. Vader shows up. He has a conversation with this Moff Jar, and then we get to Tatooine and the droids, and you meet Jabba, and it's like, you know, ick. And then you see Han, and he's still in carbonite. And then Leia shows up, but you don't know it's Leia. You always see this what looks like a bounty hunter with Chewbacca. And then she rescues Han. And then they get captured again. Because Jabba, I think, kind of knew what was going on. He either had a spy or something going on, but he kind of knew. So anyway, we get Luke shows up. He gets tossed into the Rancor pit, and we all know what happens. It was a great finale to the greatest trilogy ever made, greatest 3 films ever made. We saw a kid grow up into a man. We saw a young woman grow up into be a beautiful, well-rounded woman. We saw a guy who wasn't really looking to ever be a decent human being because he didn't probably think he could be. Discover that people cared about him and loved him enough to put their lives on the line for him, especially that woman who was a princess. And then but the ultimate thing is we get to see someone who is so awful and so horrible redeem himself. Anakin Skywalker is the Jedi that returned in Return of the Jedi. And that it's a beautiful story. So let's go further. Let's go into really weird movies. Fatal Attraction. Glenn Close, Michael Douglas, Ann Archer. I don't like her. She always plays the poor put upon mom, poor put upon wife. The first time I ever watched a movie, and I was like, there's scumbags out there, guys out there that would deserve that. I know some. There's one in my family that would deserve that. It was one of those things where you watched it and you're like, you kind of walked away going, holy shit. Glenn Close is a great actress. I mean, I'm going to say this. Glenn Close and Meryl Streep are fucking brilliant people. I mean, I'll go into, was it 2007 with The Devil Wears Prada? I saw that movie twice at the theater because it was so great. I loved that movie. Loved it. Loved it. 2006 when it came out. It was, she was so good. And at the end of it, when you start thinking about it, she's not a bad guy. This is just the way she chose to live her life. She is so good at her job, and the rest of the world either hates her or puts her on a pedestal, but they don't care about her. And that, when you think about it, that's where it is. Okay, so yeah, but Glenn Close was so good in Fatal Attraction. And I'm going to say this. I have met women like that in real life. A few years ago, when I was doing stuff for a fan site, I met some women who were like that. In fact, the owner of the biggest one, she weighed 300 pounds. I'm not kidding you. She was gross. Fucking gross. But yeah, she was like that. Do anything, be anybody that she could be for power and to get this actor's attention. And I mean, he just screwed a knothole in a wall, for Christ's sakes. I mean, he's a pig. But it was like, yeah, so there are women like that. And they don't have to look like Glenn Close in that movie. Okay? They don't. Normally they look like, I mean, my dog left a few out in the backyard today. Okay, that's, Raylos are like that. I mean, that's why I call them bunny boilers. Um, but I'm telling you, and I'm gonna say this: it is always women, all right, that get. I mean, guys get that way, but when women get that way, it's. I had a guy write really creepy letters to me when I was in college, and I had actually my sister was dating the chief of detectives in our hometown, so he kind of clamped down on it. I mean, he basically put it down, and it's really weird when I went to my mom and dad's house. I was living in another apartment, but I went to my mom and dad's house one night. They were out. I was hanging out with my dog. I was studying and watching Magnum PI, and some guy called me there. Wouldn't tell me who it was. Just started saying all this stuff. What he didn't know is there's a cop car in the alley, and I had a loaded shotgun sitting next to me. I'm like, come over. And of course, the dog would have killed him. It's just, I mean, you meet guys like that, but then women like that are, I think, what I think, and this is kind of wrong to think about, but when guys act like that, okay, it's whatever. But when women act like that, it's especially fucking weird. Okay, it's like when you're out and one of your friends, and she's really, really beautiful, but she's sloppy drunk, and you're like, every guy there who's single who thinks she's attractive immediately has a different view of her after that. That's what it's like. It's like, Jesus, that was Glenn Close in that movie, and I am not kidding. I mean, there are women like that are that fucking weird. And just go look at Raylo Art, and there they are, the bunny boilers. The way they treated Adam Driver's wife, his kid, him, Daisy, her husband, her boyfriend, or whatever the fuck he is. So fatal attraction. And then, all right, I've got a few more minutes, and then I can go on for a little while longer. Let's go to, okay, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and then you guys can come in and hit me with other ones that I forgot. So get to Indiana Jones' Last Crusade. Indy and his father. Now, I'm going to add this. Indy is always looking for fortune and glory. But what he always finds out is something that is a teachable moment for him. Raiders of the Lost Ark, he finds out that basically that archaeological find of a magnitude that is unprecedented is just wanted by the U.S. government for no other reason that they would rather have it than the Nazis had it. I said Nazis, I'm sorry. Sorry, algorithm. And then you have a Temple of Doom, where the fortune and glory ends up being replaced by helping a village. And these are just rocks. They don't really mean a whole lot to anybody else, but the people the rocks were stolen from, who believe those rocks helped their village. And the moment the rocks come back, everything's back to normal. Okay, so no fortune and glory for Indy there. And the diamond that he wanted, I don't think he ever really got. Okay, I can't remember. I have to go back and watch the movie. But Last Crusade is about his father. All right, so they're looking for the cup of Christ, and it's the Holy Grail. And the Holy Grail could be a lot of things. As a Catholic, I believe the Holy Grail is Mary, because she carried Jesus in her womb. So if you understand Mary, pray the rosary, pray for her intercession, you are interceding with literally the Holy Grail. Okay. But the Holy Grail was supposed to be a cup. All right, a cup that he used, I don't know, Bone, in the that Jesus used in the Last Supper. This is the blood of the covenant, whatever, you know, and he did a prayer over it, and then they all passed the cup around, the apostles or the disciples. And then there's a legend where Joseph of Arimathea caught the blood in the grail. I'm pretty sure it's probably the cup he used during the Last Supper. The Last Supper is where Christianity was born, okay? Where the transubstantiation, this is my body, this is my blood. When the priest says this in the Mass, that is literally the blood and body of Christ. Okay, there are miracles in the church where it actually has turned into cardiac tissue and blood. Look it up. Do I believe it? Well, there isn't any other, there is no explanation for it. Okay, if you're human and you don't believe in miracles, you're a sad person. Anyway, that's the Holy Grail. That's what they're looking for. But what they get is is a renewing of their relationship, of a clarity in the father and son relationship. And that's really what it is, because you can't take the grail past that thing in the stone. The thing about Christianity, and I think George Lucas gets it, is that every miracle, everything, and what I mean by thing is, again, is bigger than what the thing is. So the Ark of the Covenant is bigger than that gold box with the tablets or the dust of the tablets inside of it, and the angels with their wings over. The Holy Grail is bigger than the cup from the Last Supper. Okay, that's the thing that I think Lucas is teaching in these movies. Okay, in Last Crusade and the Holy Grail. I mean, in that, it's really quite something, the writing. But again, when I look at the audiences, we were smarter back then. We understood that there was always a deeper meaning into this. Okay, it was fun to go to. Action was great, la la la. But there's a story there that kept us talking about it long after it was over. Not like Fast and Furious 9 where it's like, wow, that was cool, another car chase, and you walk away and go get a pizza. You never talk about it. There are scenes. There are moments. There are looks on the actors' faces. There are lines in all these movies that came back from the 80s that are just sublime. Okay. To me, the 80s movies are the last real moment of freedom in the art, because they could say whatever they wanted. I mean, when was Cannonball Run made? And you had, oh God, Burt Reynolds when he's talking to Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin. He says, "You and the chocolate monk," and I'm like, I mean, I'm laughing my ass off. I'm like, holy shit. Sammy Davis Jr. didn't care. He didn't care. They never cared. It was, it was mocking all that shit. Now it's like, how dare you? It's like, oh, fucking it, get a life. God damn it. I mean, that's the thing. And it's sad. I would think that the era of Trump, and it's still going on, by the way, after the rally he just had in Ohio, no, he's coming on. No, none of them could be Smoking the Bandit could be made today. Cannonball Runner 2. Um, I don't think The Princess Bride could be made today. I don't. And the reason why is because you can't have a woman in that position. How dare you? It's like, fuck off. What are you going to do about it? You know, I mean, and these are women who are in those positions all the time saying shit like that. You know, I mean, anyway, you know, I just laugh. I mean, but there are so many movies that I haven't even talked about from the 80s. I mean, you know, ones that got a lot of cultural and critical acclaim that I thought were trash. Some that were really, really good that didn't get any. You know, you could go on Frantic. Have you seen that? Oh my God. Well, I walked out of that going, I'm never, ever, ever, ever going to Paris. Okay, I'm done. I'm not. I mean, the right stuff. That movie made me realize that Sam Shepard was a hot guy. I love that man. God. What a great movie. And what a great theme. And what a great moment in 80s history. And what I love about it, all the liberals, lefty assholes who hated Ronald Reagan watched it. And I just am. And who wrote that? Well, who was the guy that wrote the novel? He was a hardcore right winger. And it's really funny watching a liberal woman like my oldest sister, the one I told you about, talk rhapsodic about that movie and say, oh, the writer, blah, 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 but I love this. It's like, you are such a fucking phony. You are such a goddamn phony. Women like that are like that. They're phonies. They really don't know what they want. Okay. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up. I've yapped and yapped long enough. Tom Wolfe, yeah, he wasn't. He definitely not one of them. What a great writer. He was just awesome. But anyway, about the slave one thing, I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon because I haven't seen any change other than Lego, and I really don't give a shit about Lego. And there are circumstances that should be, I think, investigated more before everyone loses their minds. Quentin Tarantino basically, shut down Hollywood on Bill Maher the other night. Good job. And for good reason. Oh yeah, I mean they did. I mean we could go. I didn't really watch them. I saw Friday the 13th, part 2, at my friend's house, and it was the first time we ever got drunk. I mean, so I was like, it was the first time I ever had anything like that. And I was like, you know, trying to figure out what I'm watching. It was really, really funny. I was 14, so yeah, Wisconsin, we start early. I knew it started a lot earlier than me, actually. But, you know, Quentin Tarantino, I'm going to investigate that more. Maybe I'll do a video about that. No, we're not, because he could make it now. We're not. But anyway, you guys have a good night. And I'm going to wrap this up. So, have a good one. And anything big happens tomorrow, well, I'll be on anyway, but probably a lot to talk about because it's been a slow news day, so who knows what's going to happen in the next week. See you guys around the galaxy.